Welcome to another incredible episode. I'm your host, Alexis Jimenez, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with the true entrepreneur who's revolutionizing how people think about business ownership and wealth creation. His name is Benjamin Huang, and he's a Harvard trained engineer and scientist, professional real estate investor, host of the Think Creative podcast, and founder of multiple companies, including Boston Home Service and MIT Capitals. But Benjamin's story goes far beyond his impressive credentials. Based in Boston, Benjamin has built a $2 million real estate portfolio using creative finance strategies while maintaining his scientific career. And he's the founder of MIT Capitals, which helps specialized professionals like doctors, dentists, scientists, and architects achieve financial security through creative finance, strategic real estate acquisition. And what makes Benjamin unique is his mission to help 100 people become business owners through creative business acquisition, often with little to no money down. And he has mastered the art of buying businesses using other people's money, creative finance, and win-win deal structures. Benjamin specializes in acquiring everything from laundromats to landscaping companies, home service businesses, and real estate investment. And his philosophy is simple but powerful. Ownership changed everything, and it should be accessible to everyone through relationships, creativity, and strategic structuring. So today we're diving deep into his strategies for creative business acquisition, how he's building wealth across multiple asset classes, and his approach to capital raising and investor partnerships, and how he's helping others transition from employees to business owners. Benjamin, welcome, my friend.
Thank you so much. Wow, that's such an incredible introduction. I probably cannot introduce myself better than that. So thank you for getting that ready, and I appreciate you, Alexis. How are you doing?
Absolutely. I did my homework.
So good. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, my friend, thank you for for being here. And so let's start because we met in a couple of masterminds or groups that we both are in. And these groups, um, people are buying the most real estate. I know that we're talking about business acquisition as well, but people, our the people that we know is in these groups, they're buying real estate. So, but you decided, I mean, you are doing real estate as well, but you decided a different route, and you started to buy laundromats. And last time that I talked to you, actually was in Squad Up. You told me something very interesting. You aren't buying only like small businesses to have one business here and there, but the way that you're thinking is like in large scale. So you told me about IPO. So man, tell me where those thoughts are coming from, because usually people are buying businesses like, okay, I'm gonna buy a cash cow business that provide cash flow, but you are thinking totally different.
Yeah. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that. So like a lot of people who are looking at small business acquisitions, people come after the cash flow, right? And this is how I typically break down. There's four different thinkers, and I categorize into like four different level. First level is people who are buying it because most people are doing it. Like they look around and see, oh, like Alexis is buying this, Pace Morby is buying this, XYZ is buying this. This is why I should buy it. So these are the first level, which I categorize as followers. And level two is essentially people who are coming after the income. So basically, these are people who are like, hey, I have been working in this job that I hate so much, and I'm sick and tired of having a boss.
Mm.
So I really want to buy a business so I can be my own boss. So that's kind of the second level of player. And these people, when they become more experienced, they will be thinking about cash flow and having a net profit and whatnot. So the second level, I would say it's a cash flow focusing people. The third level are actually people who are trying to build a portfolio, someone who only buy businesses when they realize that this business will cash flow itself. Meaning they focus on the business that have the team in place, has the system in place, and they're buying it, trying to basically stack up their portfolio and increase the cash flow for himself, for himself, his family, and his wealth building, right? So that's a third level of thinkers. And these people who sometimes will get into like, how do I improve the business so the business can be more profitable. And of course, if they push up the profitability, a lot of time it will basically make the business worth more. Now, the top level of thinker, which is level 4 thinker, I categorize as a future changer. This is how I name it: future changer.
Mm.
And future changers are people who don't look at profitability at all. These are people who look at the the better future. Basically, what in their mind, what in their vision that they think the next generation should look like. And so we can often find these people like Elon Musk, some other big players in the world like Steve Jobs. They started the business with not without thinking about getting rich. They're thinking about how I can make a change of the trajectory for the next generation. And these people are making huge impact, and of course, money comes along. So I categorize into those four different thinker, and I honestly speaking, I started when I was somewhere between level 2 and level 3. I was focusing on cash flowing, real estate, cash flowing businesses, until a point that I realized that okay, so up to a certain point, you will build a good amount of cash flow, but are you just going to hold down to the portfolio and manage your portfolio for the rest of your life? And that to me doesn't really make a lot of meaning. So essentially what I did was I focused on a bigger problem that I'm seeing with a thing called silver tsunami that most people are seeing, that but baby boomers are retiring, and there's so many people are getting into a retirement age, and they really need to either sell their business, close the business, and whatnot. So a lot of people who are trying to retire that actually need us to rescue them. So buying businesses becomes something that actually makes a lot of sense, because buying businesses, one, I'll be able to help people retire. Second, it's also a cash flow in businesses. Number three, it can actually allow me to stack up the businesses to the level that I can be impactful, or my portfolio, my organization can be impactful in a way that change how people live, how people use home service in the next generation. So that is basically where the entire idea came from, and that's basically my motivation.
Wow, I love this, and I haven't heard about these four levels that you mentioned before, but at least the second one, it makes me think. Besides real estate, I own a tech company, right? So this is my primary source of income when I started back in 2006, and actually is the reason why I am in real estate, because in 2012 I hit my first million, and taxes, it was a difficult situation to deal with, and then I was looking for a solution to offset my taxes. Anyway, um, when I started my business, I'm a visionary, and when I started my business, I was like envisioning so many things, the thing that I can accomplish. I was thinking, I can do this, I can do that, and dreaming and so on, and and I'm gonna be free. And I guess that these are all the thoughts that most business owners, especially small business owners, has in the very beginning. But over time they got involved into another job, which is more difficult, in a sense that when you're working for a company, you're working 8 to 5, Basically, you're following instructions, and the worst that can happen to you is that they can fire you, but the next day you can find another job, right? But in when you're a business owner, you have so many responsibilities, not only for you, but also for the people that works for you. And usually, we multiply that by four, right? So husband, wife, and two kids. If you have, let's say, 10 employees, basically you're responsible for 40 people on average, right? When you are approaching this business, small business owners, is this is the most typical thing that you find out, that they didn't know what they were doing in the very beginning, but then over time they found themselves in another job, or basically they own another job?
Yeah, so I would say most people I talk to, especially people who are trying to retire, they are having a completely different mentality than what people are thinking now. um, I think if you look back where they like when they just get started, um, in a lot of cases they actually started their own companies, right? And the time has go by and there's a lot of things happened. The entire international trade has turns into a globalism. Basically, the supply chain find a way to be the most efficient and whatnot. So I think this whole thing actually change how the environment look when they just get started. So think about that. 50 years ago, when they just get started, they believe that they just need to start a small businesses and they can just live off of it. They can be their own boss. They can provide a service. They can produce some sort of good, and that will just be able to make a living. So that's their mentality. A lot of them were starting a business to live without a much bigger plan, without a much bigger purpose. They are doing it because they want to make a living. And fortunately, lots of people succeeded, meaning they're able to scale the business in a way that it's more than just make a living. And these are the businesses that survive after 50 years, right? As we all know, like 90% of the startup actually cannot survive after year one, and 90% will not survive the next 5 years, right? So the business that we're seeing, especially the ones that's owned by retiring business owner, most of them know exactly what they're doing. Most of them have been filtered, right? Meaning the business has a solid foundation. They have a great reputation. They at least know how to run the business in an old way. And that to me is a opportunities. I see that if we bring in a slightly different vision, then we can transform their small businesses into something bigger. And that is not something that they thought about, but these are the things that when I talk to them about, they're so amazed and they're excited about. So lots of people
Hmm.
actually came to me and asked about, Benjamin, how did you engage with that seller and how did you find like the business with the seller who would just sell the business to you almost no money or creatively? Like you need to understand their mentality. That is first step. People who are running those long term, like long living businesses, they're not lack of money. They have been they have been great. They have been living their life. Okay. So money is a factor, but it's not everything they need. They would focus on their baby, which is the business, and they want to make sure that whomever they hand the business to is taking the business not just the same level, but to the next level. And this is why a lot of people don't even focus on the visions or don't focus on what it should look like next 5 years. And just trying to go into a business and pitch. Like anybody can pitch creative as long as you understand it. Anybody can pitch whatever. Like one of the business I bought, it was a fifth. Like before me, there were 15 buyers. There were 15
Oh,
offer.
wow.
Crazy, and it's it's like any type of offer you can imagine. There's all cash offer. There's like listing price. There's like, over listing price. There's creative and all that. 15 of them.
And this is a
None of them.
laundromat.
It's a laundromat. Yes. None of them were taken.
Hmm.
I was like 16th buyer and I was late. I was like almost a month late after the 15th buyer. But guess what? In 30 days, we closed on that business.
And what was the catalyst? What did you do different than the other 15 didn't do?
So I think it all go back to basically what our mentor Pace Morby was focusing on, which is the bunny, right?
Hmm.
Like, what is the true motivation that the business owner want to sell? Most business owner, like I said, they are at the age of retirement. However, guess what? They're mentally young. They're physically old, but they're mentally young. And what make them decide to sell is not their physical well-being, it's their mind. Their mind drive their decision making. So when I talk to this business owner, I realized that yes, she is in her like 60 something, but guess what? She still thinks that she can do this for another 50 years.
Mm.
So when people come in and just all talk about money, talk about, the structures or whatever, they don't care about the business at all. I came in as a customer because there's no business owner that would refuse to talk to a customer. But a business owner would easily refuse to talk to a buyer. When I position myself as a customer and I show interest to learn about the business, that is how I position it completely different than all the other 15 buyers. So the business owner saw me like this is a young kid who is coming in to do laundry just to learn about the business. This means that there is passion behind it. This means that this person care. And of course, I dive deeper into understanding the business, understanding the business owner to a level that the business owner saw me as their son. Honestly speaking, like we built relationship to that degree,
So
and
that means that you went by a couple of times. It wasn't once.
more than a couple of times. Yes, more than a couple of times. And of course, there's a lot of text back and forth. And honestly speaking, we even today we still text each other,
Well,
like
so
not
you
just
took care
talking.
of building the relationship before buying the business or approaching to buy the business.
Exactly. And who would ever imagine that the real bunny, the real motivation, the real thing that would trigger the business seller to sell was not even the business itself, was actually the seller's son who lived in the basement of of the seller's home for 30 years. Like she has a son that has been living in the basement for 30 years, not doing anything meaningful and just play video game every single day. And when she saw me, she saw a different behavior that she wanted to see on her son. And that to me was the bunny. I was then offered to chat with her son. I was then offered to say, "Hey, we're in a similar age. Just give me my phone number to him, and let me talk to him." Guess what? At closing date, um, her son was attending the first ever interview, job interview,
Oh, wow.
and that was the day the seller was relieved because her laundromat has been providing everything the family need for decades, right? And so her son never thinks that she need like never think that he need to do something meaningful, never think that he need to go get a job or whatever. But that's not what the seller think. That's not what the lady think. So to the end of the day, at closing table, that become one of the most creative deals. Honestly speaking, This is a older lady who does not enjoy creative. She does not even want to hear anything about seller finance, subject to, or whatever. No, just give me cash and I'll get out. That type of mentality. And guess what? We structured a deal in a way that half of it was cash. This is what she wanted. Half of it was seller finance. And I thought I was creative enough. At closing table, what she did shocked me. She was telling me that, Benjamin, I appreciate everything you do with my son. And I already see you as my son. And I just can never imagine to have a promissory note with my son. At that point, she tear the promissory note apart
Oh, wow.
and say, consider it paid.
Wow. Wow. Amazing.
So I'm
Do
getting
you
that.
still have a relationship with her?
Yes, definitely. So I basically got that business like half price. Like anybody who can be creative and come to me and tell me that you can get a better structures.
Mm-hmm.
This is the power of relationship. This is the power of really caring for people instead of caring for what you care about. What you care about doesn't matter. The, what truly matters is what the seller cares about, what the business owner cares about. And this is why I keep emphasize to my team and everybody who tune in to what I'm doing. Focus on the relationship because you never know what that will bring you to the end of the day. And that was one of my earlier business, and I couldn't figure out, initially. And they basically like the seller and her husband basically just jump into the business to help me out for like a whole month without getting paid, and even get me a whole bucket of coin or quarters just so the business can operate. I didn't know that. I didn't know I need a bucket of coins, you know? So these kind of things just shock me, day after day. Like as I do more deals, I realize that, this is truly what people should be focusing on, especially if you're trying to buy smaller mom and pop businesses.
You know that I heard I had a mentor a couple of years ago that he mentioned something at some point that is stay with me forever. And he says the society or people out there, we need money every day, and that's normal. We're human being, but the society out there is thriving for money and not for relationship. And at the end, money is a commodity, and the money comes and goes, but relationships are supposed to be there forever. But that's going to depend on how you build that relationship and how can you treat that relationship. And just hearing your story, that thought immediately popped out in my mind, which is amazing. So, but at the same time, makes me think. I remember that conversation that we had in Dallas, and your mindset, it's big. You have big, dreams and big things that you want to do with this business acquisition business that you have. But how do you avoid to get trapped in buying another job, especially when you are buying different businesses, because you don't want to see yourself working on in the business. I guess that you want to see yourself buying working on these businesses.
Yeah, exactly. So essentially, there's no way that you can do big thing if you're stuck in a business. So I have to say that when I just get started, I made a lot of mistake, and this is one of the mistake that I made. I did not see that I would get stuck. I did not realize that I would get stuck until I own a business. And of course, since then, I understand that I need to build my team, and my team actually have been super helpful and super supportive. We now actually have most of the businesses um, under a great management, meaning there are people working in there and all that. We level up the business to a point that they can operate itself. And of course, it's a heavy lift, right? It means that you need to operational grow the business to a revenue size that can support that payroll, and you need to put in system to be efficient and whatnot. But I think that being the first or the first cup of business that I acquire is a good thing, because that will essentially allow me to learn, to understand how business works. Later on, if we're dealing with larger businesses, or if we're dealing with putting more businesses together, then I am still having a knowledge, you know, to the like down to the earth, understanding, the ground level operation and how it works. So I will not be like providing a unrealistic vision, right? Because vision is great, but to the end of the days, it need to be executed. And my teams always provide me with a bunch of um, ideas in terms of, how can we do to make my vision be more realistic and practical. And honestly speaking, I hate that, but it is what it require, right?
So, small businesses, well, depend on the business, but small businesses like laundromat, car wash, and any similar business have a ceiling. And what I mean by that, it's and this is the way that I can compare this. For example, as I mentioned before, I own a tech company, and my company, it's easy to scale up. And just to give an idea, when I started the business, I started the business in Puerto Rico. Nowadays, we're doing business in 27 countries, and I can continue, to scaling the business up. But for example, something that I always been thinking of is that if I buy, let's say, a laundromat or a car wash or maybe a restaurant, I won't buy a restaurant, but the point is that these businesses will have a ceiling, right? You can at some point work harder and harder and harder and trying to improve the business, trying to improve the revenue, but the market conditions, maybe the economy in the city, maybe the population in the city, will make you hit that ceiling. So the question that I have for you is that how you recognize that ceiling, and it all depends on the city, right? Because probably your laundromat in Boston is having, this amount of revenue, but the other laundromat in the other city having maybe a better amount of revenue, and so on. But the question is how you recognize that ceiling. And once you recognize it, is that the point where you decided to sell, or are you planning to stay on that ceiling because you are thinking to build a portfolio and then do an IPO, as you mentioned to me?
We are breaking the ceiling.
Break.
So whatever that ceiling is, we're going to break it. So I think to the end of the day, it's about what you see, your business and how you see it. What vision do you have? And a great vision that can transform any businesses a to a ceilingless industry. And I'm pointing that out with a few examples. Look at McDonald's. It was initially just a burger store, and the owner has a completely different vision than most of other burger store. How many burger store out there on the street? Shit ton. How come a McDonald's that they make a burger is not the most delicious can stand out and actually be IPO and actually be one of the giants in the stock market? There are
And it's
many
something that
things.
everybody can do, right? A burger.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of things that you can do. This is why the business is fun. And this is not something that real estate can do, because real estate, um, in one hand, is actually great because the valuation will never go to zero, but business can go to zero, right? However, the potential in businesses is much bigger. And I enjoy business so much is because business world is heavily relying on one thing, which is vision. The vision create the story. The story create reality, and the reality move people. And when it move people, you are turning your business to be more valuable, not profitable. What I enjoy in business is that there's always a valuable play than profitable play. Yes, it's important to be profitable. Most real estate people are also focusing on being profitable, cash flow and whatnot. And that set the difference between the thinkers that I was talking about, the four level of thinkers. When we can envision what we're doing to be playing a different role in the industry, then the whole thing changed. Yes, currently I'm acquiring laundromat, but guess what? I'm also now acquiring a manufacturers of the machines. And why would I do that? Because right now, if you look across the market, most of the machines are made in China, poor qualities. The older machines are actually more sturdy, more robust, and they can last a long time. But the newer machine, if you get 10 years, 15 years, then you're extremely lucky. I don't believe that is the way that it should go. And honestly speaking, I believe like businesses like laundromat, they need to provide stability and reliability in terms of their machine to make sure that whatever goes in will come out way cleaner than before, right? Because that's the value that the laundromat create. Now, how can I do it differently? So I'm not just a guy that own a bunch of laundromat. So I can IPO, so I can have a brand, so I can have, basically all my vision executed. How can I do that? It all starts with recognizing what that end state look like. For example, if one day Boston Home Service is on a publicly traded market like S&P 500 or Nasdaq or whatever, think what your business group should look like. Think about what that business group should be doing that provide the value to the community or the society that worth and deserve that position. That change everything. Meaning, if you really just come from an investor perspective and think, oh, I'm buying one laundromat, great, I'm 10K net profit. I bought another one, great, 20K net profit. Another one, 30K net profit. Yeah, sure, you can keep saying things like that. But to the end of the day, there's so many store that you can manage, and there's so many cash flow that you can make. You will stay in the zone of being profitable but not valuable. Our play is to make our brand to be valuable and not profitable. Doesn't mean that we will never sell. No, maybe one day we'll sell. However, we will only sell when we have accomplished that we have changed how people use home service in the next generation. My purpose will be completed, and my mission is accomplished, and the remaining, we could sell and we could do whatever. But my goal is accomplished, right?
So when you're targeting businesses, you know that in real estate we use what we call the buy box, right? So for example, I'm looking for single family homes, 2,000 square footage or more. This is my price range and so on. So in businesses, uh, what's your typical buy box, and what are the items that you're looking to check? And in my mind, and probably it's not what you are thinking of, but in my mind, for example, I will be looking for maybe a lack of systems, maybe lack of marketing, maybe I don't know, things like that. That I know that if I can provide them, I can scale the business up. But what's in your mind? So what's your typical buy box, and what are the items that you're looking for to decide, you know what, I see an opportunity here, and this is a business that I can take over?
I think that is a great question. And honestly speaking, for people who just get started, you should definitely have a buy box, and that buy box should be built around your strengths, your unfair advantage, your basically unique skill set, unique experience, and all that, right? However, um, I I would say, after acquiring a couple of businesses, what I'm positioning myself when I look at a business. Yes, my buy box still there. Like, we're not buying any businesses that is doing, less than like 200,000. We mainly focus in Great Boston area and whatnot, of course. But um, I have a strong emphasis on what we are good at, including my team, right? For example, we already have existing brand, we can heavily leverage that and we can grow that to the next level. There's a lot of things that we can do to a business to add value. However, we want to make sure that whatever we acquire, we can add value very quickly in no time. For example, one of our laundromat that we acquire at closing, just because the way that we structure the deals, it turns a laundromat from negative 8,500 every month, like losing 8,500 every month, to a business that is netting 12,500 every month, just because the way we structure the deal.
Oh, that's a 20 grand difference.
Exactly. And so these are the value add to me. It's like we know exactly what to do, and if we do it, great. Then we're turning it, around right away. And we also help a business owner retire, right? So I mean, right now we still have a buy box, but does it mean that everything that fit our buy box we will buy? No, because business actually require a lot more operation and acquire a lot more strategic planning, and so we need to start weighing our opportunity cost. Like, yes, we can turn a small laundromat up, but like the other day we actually just turned down a laundromat that probably like 20 or 30 people are trying to fight for. Like, we just turned it down, and actually the seller want to sell to us because they know that we're good, but we just turn it down because the opportunity is is small, meaning comparing with what we're seeing, what we're dealing with is small, right? Like, at best case, that yes, we will be able to turn it around, but the time, effort, and all that, it would not worth my group to proceed. And at the same time, I know that there are a lot of people are fighting for it, so I'm sure the business owner can be retired somehow. So we're not worrying too much about it. So I hope I answer your buy box questions.
Yes, and that makes me think that not because I see people buying all sorts of assets, right, based on the cash flow. But it seems like you guys are looking beyond that. It's not only the cash flow, but also the amount of effort that you need to put into this business to turn it around, right?
Yeah. And also how much impact it will have to my existing team and portfolio, right?
Mm.
For example, if I'm looking at a business and say, yes, I can turn it around and it's going to add like $2,000 to our net profit every month, that to me may not worth the effort, right? But if, because the same effort we could very well spend on a completely different business that we are looking at a 20,000 spin, just like the one that I just described, it's at like 20,000 spin to, and we can make that happen overnight after closing. That to us is a huge difference. That to us is a much better play.
Hmm. So you're buying these businesses using what type of debt? I know that you mentioned that you did something creative with this lady, but not all the cases are the same one, right? So are you using SBA loans? Are you raising capital from investors that they're willing to invest in your business? And if that's the case, what's the typical return that you are providing to them?
So with the business that we recently acquired, we refuse to take on new debt because the creative investor focus on trying to not use their own credit, trying to not deal with bank. In my scenario, I mainly bring in our money partners, our capital partners, for two reasons. One reason is there's lots of people who want to buy businesses, who want to own businesses, and we are providing an opportunity for them to get on board with us so they can actually acquire businesses safely. Like if you look at my first business acquisition, it's a mess. It's zero money down, all dead. It's a mess. I could make, like, from the numbers, I could make 500,000 every year net on paper, but it never happened. There's just a lot of things that we need to, and you are also a business owner. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. A lot of people just don't see that, especially when they're new to business world. Like they don't understand how come it on paper is netting 500,000, but in reality you don't make 500,000. Like it doesn't make sense. Just like real estate, it doesn't make sense. If you're looking at real estate, you can net like 100,000, then you can net 100,000. In business there's so many other moving target, and also factor that you need to consider. I think to the end of the day, we are providing a opportunity for people to leverage our experience and our existing team to get into business ownership. And with that, it will allow us and enable us to get into a larger asset with faster acquisition. And the whole community stick together, acquiring the business together is actually going to help a lot more people to avoid those kind of, you know, um, like larger financial mistake that it could drain their financial well-being. Because if you're buying in the wrong way or wrong deals, then it could quickly drain your financial well-being. And this is why I was encouraging people who are really trying to buy their business solo. I told them that, hey, make sure you build a good real estate portfolio before you acquire your first business, because your real estate portfolio is going to be what you need to depend on if the business does not perform the way it should be.
Hmm. So I remember that you mentioned to me that your end goal is an IPO. What are the checkbox that you need to check on in order to be ready for the IPO? You know, these are the things that we need to accomplish in order to be ready to go to an IPO.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of you know big requirement. One is essentially the revenue size need to be big enough, and also like the accounting booking, it need to be professionally done, right? And honestly speaking, from my perspective, I have like we have brought in a CFO who have knowledge and have connections, basically supporting business IPO multiple times, like more than 10 times. And we're relying on him to give us guidance on how we should do it financially. My focus as the owners of the organization is to expand the portfolio so we can quickly hit those numbers. And right now we are far from it. And I do believe that IPO is going to be it's going to be in the agenda in the next 5 years. But we need to, it's still a long way, and we need to work very hard.
So based on your experience right now, so for someone who wants to buy their first business but doesn't have the capital, what's step one in your playbook? How does that person can get out of his W-2, buy a business and but at the same time work on his business and not in the business?
So I would say it's not possible. Just go build your real estate portfolio. To be honest, that is my short answer. And if you want a longer one, then yes, it's possible. However, you need to have someone who's very experienced and have done what you're trying to do to be your partners, because that is a set of eyes that will tell you a lot of things that you don't even know. That's your so I would say the most dangerous things in business world is not just unknown. It's the unknown unknown. It's the thing that you don't even know it exists. They will pop out and shock you, surprise you. In real estate, if you are experienced in real estate, then you kind of already see it all. However, in business, there could be all kind of things that just pop out and just surprise you. Like even right now, if you're trying to buy a business that I'm not familiar with, I will tell you that I can give you my best guess, but I'm not the right person you should talk to. So I would say for people who are new, please don't buy a business until you know someone who have bought the business and have operated the business for decades, and that need to be the exact same industry, exact same type of businesses. And that is the only way that you can avoid most of the pitfall. And I'm just saying most. You'll definitely still go through some pitfall. So people who are new, youngers, and still doing a W-2, don't buy a business. If you are trying to buy a business, like I said, say if you're working in a say auto shop, right? You may already know how to like fix cars and whatnot, but fixing car is not the same skill set that it requires to run a auto shop. And say if you're a manager, great, you may be managing people, but being a owners of auto shop is require a completely different skill set, right? So but you do have some skill set and experience relate to it, so that's your unfair advantage. You know that if everything's goes south, you can still fix car, right? So I would say that is de-risking significantly, but still have someone who's experienced by your side is the best way, or basically the best probability for you to win.
Wow, Benjamin, this is has been absolutely eye-opening. You know that I launched a fractional club, and it's all based on support my Mount Everest, which is I'm gonna help 1,000 individuals to solve their affordability problem, right? With the co-living business model. And while I'm doing that, I'm gonna generate cash flow, right? But I'm gonna create, um, I'm gonna give people em, em, employ jobs. I'm gonna create jobs. Anyway, so originally when I came up with the idea, I wanted to do this by myself. It's very simple, especially in real estate, to run this type of operation. I mean, not the whole thing, but I mean, like, I can do the acquisition, but then hire the property management company, which they are going to hire the handyman, the plumber, and having these key outsourcing companies. But at the end, in operations or in the business, I was the only one. However, I've been watching you closely, man, and you inspire me to take another route. And the route is that, absolutely, I can do this by myself, but I think that it's going to be more scalable. It's going to be more fun to do if I build a team. And I ended up building a team, man, which I appreciate you to be a business role model and inspire me on that. So one of the let me highlight the golden nuggets that one of them, I mean, you shared a lot, but one of them is vision creates story, story creates reality, and reality move people. I love that, man, because people usually are looking for money again as their main driver, but at the end, I like the way that you articulated that. How can you create a different movement, and at the end money will come.
Thank you so much, Alexis, and thanks for your kind work. And I'm so glad that what I said become helpful to people. I appreciate the opportunities.
Yeah, I love that. How can people get a hold of you? If someone is interested in investing in your business and be part of this dream, how can they reach you out?
Yeah, and in fact, we actually just got under contracts on a laundromat just last night. So
Oh, nice.
yeah,
Congrats.
thanks. And our projects are coming. You can find me at basically on Instagram or YouTube at Benjamin Huang 14, Benjamin Huang Huang 14. um the same handles on Facebook, on Instagram, and also on YouTube. If you're interested to get into one of our deals, follow me on Instagram, and you can DM me, count me in, because at the moment right now we are trying to solidify the projects, and in the near future we will be opening the gate for people who want to jump on and own laundromat with us.
Thank you, my friend. So, see you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.